Highly Intelligent, the roundtable where AI headlines meet hot takes, and no one leaves without having their ideas challenged. I'm Hannah Wolfart, your host and professional wrangler of strong opinions. Today, I'm joined by my fellow pipIQ teammates, Josh Cohen, our paid ads wizard, Dalton Smith, our marketing campaign manager, and Edwin Bevins, the guardian of brand sanity. Each episode, our guests will break down the week's biggest AI stories, from the game-changing to the just plain weird, and figure out what it all means for the way we work, market, and live. This is where smart ideas get debated, bad ideas get roasted, and AI hype gets a reality check. Let's get into it. All right, to kick things off, cutting edge AI was supposed to get cheaper, and now it's more expensive than ever. So AI was supposed to get cheaper, but costs for cutting edge models are climbing. Token prices are falling, and advanced tasks like coding or legal analysis burn through millions of tokens, driving bills higher. We're seeing startups like Knowlton, Cursor, and Replit feeling the squeeze as margins shrink and users push back on new pricing. And big tech firms can absorb the expense, but smaller players are forced to steer customers towards cheaper, less powerful models. The bottom line is the race for smarter AI is really a race for more expensive AI, raising doubts about whether smaller companies can survive in a market increasingly dominated by giants. So let's get into this one, guys. Edwin, if smarter AI is just more expensive AI, will only the biggest players survive, or is there still room for startups to compete?
Well, the first thing you got to remember here is that there's no reason this couldn't just be a temporary trend, right? I mean, this is still a pretty new technology. It's not that shocking that we initially hit this period where prices start to go up, but it's very possible the next set of innovations could be all about more efficient delivery. Um, but then looking at it from another angle, it reminds me of a conversation I had recently with somebody else in the AI space. And they were saying that when they first were getting into this, the AI model was the hard part. And it was how they were able to differentiate themselves from competitors. Now it's actually the reverse situation, he said. You know, the AI model is the relatively easy part. Not that you or I could sit down at my laptop and build one, but easier than before. And it's the secret sauce of industry insights is what sets them apart. So all that to say, I'd say there's plenty of room for new competitors if you can think about ways that what you bring to the table can really differentiate you from all the other tools that are out there.
Dalton, should companies push users towards dumber but cheaper AI models, or does that risk hold back real innovation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that companies should try a bit of both. I think they should try more of a balanced approach, kind of similar to cloud computing. Use your kind of quote unquote cheaper models to kind of complete your everyday task, or your more simplistic task. Um, and then kind of use your more expensive models, or advanced models, to prioritize your cutting edge to complete ta tasks that, require much more depth, or precision. That way you're kind of balancing your costs, to complete your more simplistic versus your more cutting edge tasks.
And now I'm going to throw it to Josh for our next story.
Thanks, Hannah. So, a little news out of Walmart recently. The big story is that they're leaning on AI, like everybody else, to boost efficiency and ease shopping amid all of the inflation and spending pressures that customers are facing. So, at its latest Retail Rewired event, it unveiled four super agents for tasks ranging for things in-house at Walmart, from payroll to personalized shopping. Its Sparky agent, for instance, it helps customers build their baskets. It'll handle reorders automatically in the future. Behind the scenes, Walmart is also using digital twins of stores to predict issues early, already cutting emergency alerts by 30% and refrigeration costs by 19. So in all, by pairing customer-facing tools with invisible back-end systems, Walmart is reimagining retail, cutting costs, reducing hassle, and keeping margins strong. So Hannah, for you, do shoppers actually want AI agents making decisions for them, like building baskets, reordering items, or does it risk feeling intrusive?
I think it risks feeling intrusive. I mean, the convenience of having a robot pick out everything for you is nice, but at the end of the day, there's some something nice and original about shopping yourself and adding things to your cart or choosing between different brands and styles of things. I think that will be hard for AI to really capture. Like, do I want the CVS brand or do I want the Neutrogena brand? Do I want, how do you differentiate between the cost of things, the brand, and the actual product? I think AI will have trouble differentiating, whereas us humans looking at it, we know we've had experience with these brands, so we've built up this knowledge that we just have innately. And I think that's something that AI will miss out on. And that experience about going to the store and shopping yourself, that's an outlet for some people that gets you out of the house, that gets you to do something different in your routine, or it is a part of your weekly routine. You guys might take your kids with you to the grocery store. So things like that, I think, are niceties that we have that are involved with shopping. But, some people do view it as a chore, so I can see that other side. Overall, though, I think we keep it to a human-centered approach.
I wonder how much that's a generational thing. Obviously for us, there was a time where we went shopping in a non-digital way. So we kind of hearken for the old, that nostalgic, picking out things for ourselves. But with newer generations that are digital first, digital only, the extent to which this is convenient for them or all they know really could, swing things that way. And then we're also going to see, personalizing it. I would like the digital AI agent to only play 30% into my shopping experience, while someone could have, say, like 100%, take it all the way and handle it all for me. So I'm curious to see where the personalization aspect goes between generations too.
And now we're in the era of it's iPad kids are going to become like Instacart shoppers. It's not like they are using these other methods to do things that we would normally like get out of the house to do and have more of a
That's
human
true.
touch with. So it's interesting. But Josh, it does make me think about your domain, which is digital ads. How will this affect digital ads for retailers like Walmart? We've talked before about like ads helping you shop in Walmart.
Right. Yeah. So this trend isn't new. It's going to evolve over time. So I think on the customer side, as we just talked about, we're going to see how this plays into searching for things or building baskets. How much is it creepy or how much is it convenient? Is it actually helpful? Is it intrusive? Like, is it more in the way of what I want to do? Is it not really replicating that experience? All that's going to be going on. That tension's still going to be there. On the advertiser side of things, there's all new workflows. You've seen this in Google, you've seen this in Meta, you've seen it in LinkedIn. AI assisted campaign building is all the rage. It's like, hey, send us a few notes and let the AI ingest that and build a campaign for you. From my vantage point, it hasn't been all that impactful because the AI, again, it's from a company whose sole role is to get you to spend more money and pad that company's bottom line, not necessarily make your campaigns that much better. But again, there is an incentive for those campaigns to be good and well thought out. So you better believe that they'll get better over time and we'll slowly let go of the reins. So yes, there's new workflows, new access points, but the biggest thing that I haven't really seen is what this is going to change from a metric standpoint. So are we going to be able to split data and see like how many people bought traditionally, like the traditional process, whether they went into the store or they shopped online and went in, or just went in or shopped online without an agent? Or what about the people that shopped with an agent at 100%, 30%, 40%? And then what extent does an advertiser have to manipulate that? If we're not able to, then we may shy away from it and not really want to manipulate it as much. So again, that's the tension that I haven't really seen resolved or any inkling of where the wind's blowing. But yeah, it's definitely going to change it. It's changed it already, but I think it's just going to be become more amplified as we go and these systems get stronger.
Thanks, Josh. And for our third story, let's go to Dalton. Dalton, what's up?
Yeah, Google and Grok are catching up to ChatGPT, says a 16Z's latest AI report. ChatGPT is still on top, but competitors are gaining ground. ChatGPT remains the most popular consumer AI tool, but new challengers like Google's Gemini and Elon Musk's Grok are rapidly closing the gap in usage and popularity. Gemini on both mobile and web ranks number 2, now only behind ChatGPT, with nearly half the users that ChatGPT has. Grok has over 20 million monthly active users, boosted by a 40% spike following the use of Grok 4 that was just released in July 2025. Google is also expanding its AI presence. They added four products to the top list: Gemini, AI Studio, Notebook LM, and Google Labs. Users are also exploring more AI applications, with Dalbo, Orc, and Kimi coming into play. All in all, the AI field is rapidly diversifying, and ChatGPT remains on top, but competition from Google, Grok, and Chinese platforms is rapidly intensifying. Edwin, with Gemini, Grok, and Chinese apps gaining ground, is OpenAI's dominance already slipping?
It's a good question. My immediate reaction is not really yet. I still think to most users, ChatGPT to a degree is still synonymous with AI. You know, when they say AI, a lot of people really mean ChatGPT. And then a second factor here is I think a lot of the catching up is coming from two places, bundling and then people adding additional models to their daily use. So, for example, Microsoft is able to bundle Copilot into Office or Windows, and Google can bundle Gemini into any Google products that you're buying. And so suddenly those are millions of new users, but are those people who are using that to replace ChatGPT? How often are they actually using it? We'll see. And then the other issue here is that as this is really maturing as a market, I think a lot of people are going to start using multiple models. Maybe they're not going to use ChatGPT for everything, but they're not going to replace it entirely. So I'd say we're starting to see the beginning of a shift, but OpenAI definitely still is clearly in the lead and is not really being challenged at that top spot yet.
Josh, is this competition good for consumers, or will it just create fragmentation and confusion in the AI market?
I think any competition, you know, given my capitalist society slant, is good for consumers. It just depends, you know, what all that competition is trying to do. Is it all trying to do the same thing? Is that competition going to even last? You know, what are the big players? You know, who are going to be the big players in 6 months, in a year? I kind of liken this to the streaming wars that are going on between all the platforms. You know, your Peacock and your Hulu and what have you. Are they all gonna, you know, stick around, and or are some gonna get eaten by others, get bundled? And this is a little different than content because, you know, you're coming out with models that are arguably doing the same thing. So again, are we gonna see that shift toward trying to do everything, or are we gonna see the rise of niche AI? Are there gonna be AIs that come out that are, regardless if they're powerful or not, are they able to do things that other AIs can't do? So is there going to be differentiation? And I think the point to which those, you know, come about and hit on, you know, problems, that, you know, different people have and that they're able to solve pretty well, will grow their, you know, their brand, you know, impact, so to speak. So yeah, it really remains to be seen. I don't see too much confusion. I think the only confusion is when you've got a new AI that's not really differentiated and it's not much different than what else is out there, for them to be able to differentiate themselves from the others to get, that sort of following. I get it for the Chinese brands. You know, if that's, you know, a Chinese, you know, if you're able to tap into certain markets, and that's the first thing that you latch onto, like a sports team or a bank, you're going to be a fan, quote unquote, for life, unless they burn you in some way, shape, or form, or, you know, you stick with them like your sports teams, because it's the first and only thing that you knew. So for all those that choose ChatGPT first, they may stick around until ChatGPT does something or a better competitor comes along, and lets them know that. So remains to be seen.
Agreed. Agreed. I think it's similar to sports. Iron sharpens iron. So competition just makes the product or the market just intensify or rapidly grow better.
And for our fourth and final story, let's throw it to Edwin.
Yeah, let's talk Anthropic and Claude. So Claude, which is the AI model from Anthropic, they've long stood out because out of all the major models that are out there, it's the one that didn't train on user conversations until now. So Anthropic just announced that they're shifting course and will be training Claude on user conversations unless you opt out by September 28th. So if you don't opt out, not only are they going to be training on your conversations now, but they're also going to store them for 5 years. And if any of you are UX, UI experts, you know how design can impact user decisions. And in this case, with the opt-out option, they're giving you a big button to just accept the new terms as is, and then a small option off to the side to change a toggle to opt out. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions about what most users are going to do. This obviously takes away one of the big distinctions of Claude, but they're touting all the ways that this is going to help to improve the model. So, Hannah, I'll throw the first question at you. Is this new opt-out policy a reasonable trade-off for better AI models, or is this a huge loss for users in terms of privacy options?
So I think for me, I'm more towards the latter of that as it being a big loss for users because I think it crosses into a privacy line where the opt out, like when the opt out is harder to find or framed in a way that discourages use, it causes an issue for the user because it's like you said, Edwin, the design plays a huge role here because we might not see something, we might not know to look there, but if we're not leading users to directly opt out or opt in of something in a clear, indirect way, then we're almost taking the information on the sly, which feels dirty and a little skeevy to me. And also, storing conversations for 5 years is pretty significant. What happens after those 5 years to those conversations, I don't know, but 5 years worth of data built up about conversations between you and AI, like that's a lot of information for them to have and to be training on and learning from and iterating upon. Privacy is a huge deal for everyone, as it should be, but especially depending on how you're using the AI. If we're using the AI for workplaces, like privacy is going to be a top concern for client contracts and things like that. And we might be entering a world where we're seeing more privacy clauses be put into things like those contracts and client relationships specifically say, do not put certain data into AI. So I think we get into a messy situation depending on what you're using it for, but overall, privacy should be easier than, a hidden toggle button.
Absolutely. Dalton, next question's for you. Do you think regulators ought to be stepping in on these kinds of subtle consent designs, or should the burden be on users to pay closer attention?
Yeah, I think in short, I believe that regulators should be required to step in whenever changing anything about user consent. Um, I think that, it's a little unfair because their new update is nudging users into sharing their personal information and their chats without realizing it. With the use of their new update and the design with the tiny micro print, I believe they are kind of tricking users into sharing their personal data, which seems a tad unfair. And I believe by using, the use of regulators would potentially prohibit that, and would allow the consumers to make, better informed decisions whether or not they would like to share their data to train their models or not.
All right, now it's the final part of our day, debate of the day. Okay, guys, as AI gets smarter, it's also getting more expensive, more competitive, and more invasive with our data. The big question, is AI evolving in a way that actually benefits everyday users, or is it mostly serving the giants who build it? Edwin, start us off.
Oh man. So just want to first acknowledge that nothing is ever 100% one way or the other. But I'm going to take the position that right now I think we're generally trending, hopefully in a positive way. As somebody old enough to remember the browser wars in the 90s, I don't want to get into a situation where we have just one model out there that is completely dominating everything. So seeing more competitors getting users and starting to build a competitive field, I think that's good. Like I said just a few minutes ago, I still think OpenAI is clearly in the lead, but other people are actually like competing now, whereas before I think they were just the default. And then as we look at expense and expenses for AI tokens and things, I hope that we're approaching a place where the economics of AI businesses start to actually make sense. Because as we all know from social media, anything where if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. And so if we can get to a place where AI makes financial sense, let's let AI be the product and not we users.
Josh, what say you?
So obviously I'm a shades of gray type of guy. So I'm going to say both. I mean, obviously these companies are in it to make money. The cost of developing one of these things is exorbitant. So, yes, we're going to see pay to play here for consumers and the like. But ultimately, at the end of the day, these tools are for people to use. That's their user base. With that said, again, I really see the tension between, top down and bottom up interests. Who is going to win out? And by bottom up, I mean, are the people, are we going to clamor and say, I want this, I want more privacy, I want AI that does that and not this? Is that going to prevail? Or is it just going to be top-down pressure that wins? Any new niche AI that pops up, is it going to get eaten? Are we going to have, different AIs buy the other and buy them out? I don't know. So to what extent, we the people win out against the powers that be? And remember, those powers that be are trying to make money off of we the people. So who's really going to win out? That remains to be seen. But I'm hopeful that we do see some sort of proliferation of niche AI that keys to different people's interests, just like there are subreddits on Reddit. Also, external from this, is there an AI bubble? Are we going to have too many players in a market that is propped up and is more we think it's more valuable than it actually is, and how that looks. So maybe that's another just talk point for another roundtable of ours. But either way, I'm curious how that all plays out.
Dalton, what's your take?
I agree with some of the things that Edwin said, and I agree with Josh. I'm taking the stance of both. I think AI is benefiting, the everyday practical users in practical ways, from productivity, creativity, accessibility, cheap expertise. But I believe that the structural power and the long-term value with the data really kind of remain heavily skewed towards the major players. Kind of, similar to what Edwin said, bouncing off of that, I believe that kind of regulation and user choice will kind of decide whether AI becomes like the early internet, whether it's kind of broadly empowering, or if it's more like the social media platforms that we're experiencing now, which are kind of dominated by a handful of firms. So I'm kind of interested to see how it shakes out, but I believe it's kind of both as it stands.
And I kind of agree with you guys. I'm like mixed bag on this because I feel like what Dalton said is true. Like the bigger corporations are the ones that have the power right now in the development of AI, and that kind of causes, I think, pause and more advancements for accessible AI. So like the everyday users' use of AI. Because those big corporations have goals in mind and want to make more money, etc. So who's worried about the little guy here is what I'm worried about, when that's us being the little guy. Like who's going to focus on our advancements? And maybe I think I'm mixed on this because maybe this will become something like technology like the iPhone or something, where like people are making a product for like one purpose, but then it, slowly becomes adapted by everybody over time and just becomes a part of our everyday life. That seems to be kind of the way we're trending. But again, with the power in those bigger corporations and with like the big tech giants, it's hard to say how that will pan out. Thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of Privately Intelligent. We'll be back with another one soon, and follow us at pipIQ on all social platforms to stay in touch. See you next time.